up?
Yeah, I mainly it on Instagram, to be honest.
Okay.
But here we go.
But we're live on Twitter. Let's not even worry about it.
Yeah, we are live on Twitter. Let's just stick to this. Myself, Max Van Auken from the Max Van Auken Podcast. And then we have my guy, Zach Ramey, here from the Off the Glass Podcast. Our first ever live Twitter video together. I'm excited. Live stream.
I know. Let's go. What's up, people? What's going on? What's up? Tune in. We got something special for you guys today. I'm excited. I know Max is excited. We're going to have this. We're going to show you how to draft an NBA championship team.
Yes, sir. You know how we do it. Very excited for this. It's going to be fun because what we're doing is we're not just building a dream team. We're not just doing straight all-stars. What we're doing is we're putting together a team that makes sense across the board. Role players, people that will actually buy in to sacrifice, to chemistry, all this stuff.
Yeah, and because it's easy if we were just going to say, you know, when we was kicking around the idea, let's just redraft the all-star teams. And I was like, that's kind of generic in a way. That's easy.
Yeah.
Let's put the GM hat on and really, you know, build a team. And I'm excited because this takes me back to, and I know we all as hoopers are thirsty to get back to the gym, but takes you back to those open gym days. Yeah. You know, shout out to my people in Chicago that may be watching. Ogden Park, middle of Inglewood, 67 from Racine, stand up. And I used to just take great pride in picking a team that's going to stay on the court. And it's not always about picking the most talent in the gym, but pieces that complement each other. So I'm excited to do this, Max, man. Let's go, man. Let's go.
Yeah, me too. Now, the first thing I want to say is a couple things. First, your podcast. Let's take this moment. Where can people check you out? Where can people listen to it? They like our conversation. Where can they check you out?
The podcast is available on all streaming platforms. The Off the Glass Podcast, as I always say, the host site is Spreaker, but Apple Podcasts were there, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. So like I always say, there's no excuse why you should not be consuming this great content. Also want to plug the YouTube channel, the Off the Glass Podcast, because I'm giving you 3 levels of content. You know, we're doing the live content here. You know, me and Max are talking about doing more live content. I'm giving you the YouTube video where I go back, edit it, whatever the content is. I'm adding the pictures, I'm adding graphics, so it's like a TV show. And then I'm also giving you the audio as well, so you can listen to your car, listen while you're working out. So like I always say, again, not being repetitive, but we're bringing it to you on all levels. So there's no excuse you should not be consuming this great content that me and Max are bringing.
I appreciate it, man. Yeah, check it out. As well as mine. It's on any platform, the Max Van Auken Podcast, as well as my YouTube channel, Max Van Auken. Subscribe to that. So, without further ado, I slicked the hair back. I'm representing Pat Riley right now, 2.0, the younger version. We're going to draft these teams here. So, we each get 10 players. That's bench players, that's your starting lineup. And then we'll go over and explain why we chose what we chose and just let it flow from there. But you're my guest. So you get the first overall pick in our championship draft.
You know what? And I wish we could really be authentic, because what we really should be doing is whoever runs into the gym, like, I got first shot. That's how we do it here in Chicago. Whoever yell out, I got first shot.
Zach, I don't miss that. That's one thing.
I don't either.
Yeah,
I don't either.
Shooter. That's one thing I've always been known for, is shooting the ball.
I got you. You know, I seen the Instagram highlights. I dug out some of my old film. Don't worry, I'm gonna start posting some stuff because people think it's a game. But my first pick, I wanted to go a lot of different ways.
All right.
But I'm going with Anthony Davis.
All right, I'm writing down Anthony Davis.
And the reason why I went with Anthony Davis, obvious reasons. In my chess piece comparison to NBA players, where I took the pieces on the board, broke them down, I had Anthony Davis coming in as a queen, meaning he was one of the 3 or 4 best players in the league. My king piece, from my opinion, was Steph Curry and Kawhi Leonard coming into the season. So you can't go wrong. Swiss Army knife on offense, can play inside, pick and post, pick and pop big, runs the floor. We've seen him and LeBron develop that chemistry with the long glide passes. He was our pick, both of our picks, for Defensive Player of the Year. So you know he's going to anchor the paint. He can show on the pick and rolls as a big. So I just felt like if I'm building a team, I might like other players a little bit better from preference. But if we're going to be real picking a team, you got to go with Anthony Davis and his versatility.
One thing I also want to credit your pick of Anthony Davis. This year, I think we've seen his maturity. Like, we've seen him wanting to win a championship. But he's always been talented, always been amazing. But it's like this year he's buying in, and you see that maturity being the next step. So that's a great pick.
All right. So who you got for yours, Max?
Zach. This guy, come on. Now listen. Now I understand what he can do to a team, so I'm going to make sure the pieces fit well around him. And if I'm building a team, I'm going with LeBron James.
I knew it. I knew you was going with King James. I knew it.
King James. Don't get me wrong. I know how he can consume an offense, and I'm okay with that. So I'll make sure. I'm Pat Riley right now. I understand LeBron's going to be very overwhelming. He's going to consume a lot of the system. So I'm excited with my first piece going forward.
I mean, that's a no-brainer. He orchestrates the offense. Everything starts and ends with LeBron James. Nobody's going to disagree with that, So that's a no-brainer pick. I was trying to, in a way, I was trying to think of like other players, but again, like we're building a team, so I'm not mad at that. My second pick, I'm already telling you,
I know
it's going to be a shocker. Like it's going to be a shocker.
I think I know who you want.
I'm going with Chris Paul.
I like that.
Ultimate floor general. Check out my latest pod video I did as well I got added the video, the pictures when I break down who's better, Chris Paul or Kyrie Irving. I had Chris Paul, Magic Johnson as the all-time great point guard. Chris Paul, in my opinion, he's definitely the best point guard of his generation. He's going down 2 and 3. He's been playing fantastic in Oklahoma City at the time of the season being suspended. He had him in the 5th seed along with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Dennis Schroeder, Steven Adams, and those guys have been playing well, and that's accredited to Chris Paul. And then one thing I like about him, as I said, he's always been a great two-way player, great defender. So he's gonna compete. And I think he has enough in the tank where he can still be the facilitator. If we need him to walk you down like he did in the one game I talked about against the Dallas Mavericks in the 4th quarter, he still has that ability to take over the game and get shots. But we don't need to lean on him per se because we also have Anthony Davis as well. So for me, I wanted to go with him as my number 1 pick, but like I said, it just made sense to go with Anthony Davis because I knew Chris Paul would be there. And we're going to go with CP3 as our second pick.
I like what you're doing. I do. It's smart. Now, my first 2 picks, I promised myself those are going to be my stars. I'm going to get them early, and then I'm going to build around those first 2. I didn't think I was going to have the opportunity to pick these first 2. My second pick, is Kevin Durant. I think Kevin Durant is probably the greatest scorer we've ever seen. He's right up there. But what I like about him and why I think he fits with LeBron is he doesn't need the ball. We've seen him operate the system. He's very good off the ball. Obviously an elite shooter, elite finisher, and he's an underrated defender. So he can take on those defensive tasks. And I think him and Bron are those type of hybrid positions where they can alternate 3 and 4. So those are my main 2 build around type of guys. So Kevin Durant, Bron, we've seen what they do in the All-Star game. I got them well together. I like my team.
And I mean, it wasn't far-fetched. People thought it was a chance that they might actually try to get together. Yeah. We know they're, friends, but KD did come out and say that, between the lines, he didn't want to kind of, deal with that goes along with playing alongside LeBron James. No slight at LeBron, but if we're just using perspective like we like to do, it's a different animal when you're playing with King James. It just is. It's a different type of animal. And being underneath those bright lights of Los Angeles would have created a whole nother level of a frenzy. So not mad at the KD pick. He was definitely on my list, so I'm going to cross him off. So for me, we're building a team. And in the era of small ball, I'm going to stay small with my team, just being honest with you. So coming in as my 3rd pick, my most improved player, I'm going with Bam Adebayo.
Oh, he was on my team, too.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
He was on my team.
Anthony Davis and Bam on your defense, anchoring that defense.
That's nasty.
I mean, we're at the point now, depending on how this next pick shakes out, we can almost switch at all 5 positions. I don't know how you can fare against that because there's no easy task posting up Chris Paul either. He's like posting up a fire hydrant, and he's going to compete on every possession. But with Bam and Anthony Davis, if we sub Anthony Davis out of Chris Paul, as I stated in our pod when we did our awards, Miami is using Bam to initiate offense. We could put him at the pinch post. He could turn and face. They even had him bringing the ball up. So we have like a de facto second point guard or initiator that can initiate offense. So we got the dribble handoffs with pistol action with Bam as well. So I just thought it was a no-brainer. I'm going with Bam. And I almost went with Draymond in this spot, but I said I might as well go with the young gun coming up. I got to go with the young gun. So that's why I went with Bam.
Right. Now, listen, I'm really going Pat Riley mode here because I'm building a big three. And then I may just have a ton of Shane Battier's on my team after.
It wins. It's more than one way to skin the cat, as we like to say. It's more than one way to skin a cat.
This is definitely my big three. Honestly, I dropped this hint yesterday on my story. Someone asked me this question, and I said this would be the perfect teammate for LeBron James. It's not a huge superstar, but it's a star. Don't get me wrong.
Okay.
I'm getting Klay Thompson. I need a shooter that can spread the floor. I need a two-way defender. He's not an ego guy. He doesn't need his shots. He just goes up and he hoops. LeBron and KD are initiating all the attention. You can't leave Klay on the wing. You can't.
No, you can't. And he's going to give you some good defense.
Yeah, I can get him to guard your point guards. I can get him to guard your James Hardens of the world. So Klay Thompson, I think, is a perfect gel, a perfect piece who doesn't need the ball, but yet he's extremely effective in my system. So right now, you have Anthony Davis, Chris Paul, Bam Bam. I have Bron, KD, and Klay. This is getting real interesting.
I see what you're doing. And Klay, in a way, is the perfect third option for this team. Not so much because of his shooting, because of his temperament and his personality. Klay feels like I'm going to get my shots regardless. I don't care if I'm playing with LeBron, Jordan, KD, Magic, whoever great you want to put in that spot, I'm going to still do me and be Klay Thompson. So I like that pick.
You're giving me my fourth pick is going to just put this over the top. I hope you know that.
I don't know because my fourth pick, we could have went so many different ways.
Right.
But I'm going to use my fourth pick to draft Jimmy Butler.
I love it. You have a tough team. You have a very tough defensive team. Right now, Zach Ramey joining me from the Off the Glass podcast. We're doing a championship draft. Role players, any player in the league, stars. And right now, you have Anthony Davis, Chris Paul, Bam Bam, Jimmy. I have Klay, Bron, and KD. But explain why you picked Jimmy Butler.
Again, just I love his work ethic, his selflessness. With so much firepower, I was trying to pick guys that wouldn't mind sharing the ball with guys they respect. And I think that's what got lost with Jimmy Butler. Not saying trying to create controversy. He didn't respect some of his teammates because we weren't in the locker room. We really don't know. But it's hard to argue with a CP3. It's hard to argue with an Anthony Davis. And he's obviously Bam's teammate. So he knows what Bam is bringing to the table. So for me, he can give me some offense. He can give me some post up on the isolation if we need him to. He's going to compete on defense. I can't stress that enough because I hadn't been to an NBA game in a long time. And when I got to cover the Orlando Magic for against the Heat, to watch Butler live on defense, it was a real treat. The little tricks that he's doing, the reads, playing off instinct, covering up for other players. I mean, it was really, really a treat to really watch. That kind of stuff gets me excited. Like I kind of geek out on that kind of stuff as a former player and kind of like a scout to kind of see in person the stuff you don't always see on the stat sheet. And Jimmy Butler is definitely one of those guys. So as our guy Rashad is tuned in right now, I'm definitely driving for fit. Max is over here trying to build a super team.
No,
I'm just joking. No, we're both drafting for fit as well, man. So for me, I'm going with Jimmy Butler. Who did you have?
This is going to surprise you. This is going to shock you. No, this isn't talent, Rashad. Check this out. I'm going Lonzo with my fourth pick. I'm going Lonzo at the point guard position because I already have KD and Bron are my attention getters. Klay is the non-ego shooter to stretch the floor, play defense two-way. Lonzo, play defense at the point guard position and distribute. He's not ball dominant. He can pick up the floor, run in transition. He's 6'6", 6'7", very underrated defender. I think we have a long and versatile team, and I think he's a perfect guy to not require too much, but yet be really effective for what he does.
Love it. Did not see that coming. Was having a phenomenal season.
Yeah.
Again, he's an example again that certain teams, I keep saying this, get it when it comes to player development. I wish I had the coach's name in front of me because I did look up the shooting coach that was actually working with him. And he has a stellar track record. He revamped his shot on the fly. And more importantly, he did have some injuries early on, but he was actually starting to really stay healthy.
Yeah.
And again, the ability to throw that hit ahead pass. LeBron goes out. LeBron can lean on him. I think it's brilliant. I like it. So you're Bron, KD, Clay, and Lonzo. I love it. And then I'm Anthony Davis, Chris Paul, Bam Adebayo, and Jimmy Butler.
Yeah.
Now, the fifth pick is going to surprise you. And then we're going to really get into some scouting.
I have a really weird feeling you're going to steal my fifth pick. I'm hoping.
I don't think so. I don't think anybody sees it. And this is how you really do the scouting. I'm going with the young rookie, Duncan Robinson from Miami.
I love it.
We need some more shooting. We're not really worried about his defense per se. We have Chris Paul, Anthony Davis, Jimmy Butler, and Bam. He's going to space the floor out. If you put him on the same side that you run the pick and roll with Chris Paul and Anthony Davis, you can't help. If you run pick and roll with Jimmy Butler, you can't help. He's going to be on that side shooting space on the floor. So my starting five to round it out, I'm going with Duncan Robinson, the young rookie out of Michigan for Miami Heat, who's leading the league, or at least second in three-point shooting this season.
I love it. I really love that. That's a good fit piece. I like what you did there. My guy's a fit piece as well. Now, I'm going small ball. That's just the way 2020 is. I think I have a lot of IQ guys that can make up for it already. So my fifth guy, I don't need someone to give me a bunch of stats. I don't need someone to initiate for offense. I need someone who's just going to do the dirty work, get boards, and play defense and hustle. I'm going Montrezl Harrell at my fifth.
I like it.
My number 5. Yeah,
I like it.
I need a grinder.
I like it.
Yeah, I'm happy I got him. Now, like I said, I could have. I'm trying to be realistic too, right? You can go MB, you can go, but let's just do the big 3. The Warriors have 4, and that's like once in a lifetime. You probably may not ever see that again. So I wanted to at least just have 3, at most have 3, and now let's just be realistic. So I think Lonzo and Montrez will be realistic pieces that could go to this team.
Yep. I agree. I like that pick. So we got our starting 5 out. Now, I'm thinking in the second unit, we're not going to see, at least I could speak for myself, I'm not going to be drafting heavy on superstar talent. We're not going to have superstar talent on the bench. That's not realistic. So moving into my next pick, I'm going with Robert Covington.
That's a good one. That's a really good one. I like him. Lanky, two-way, good shooter.
Yep.
All right.
And what he showed now, granted, he's starting for Houston and he can be a starter. So that's what I like. But he also can be a finisher for me. So let's say we need to really lock in defensively. I'll pull Duncan Robinson out and we'll put in Covington, and he's still going to space the floor with his shooting. If Jimmy Butler's out, we could put him out there. He'll still space the floor with his shooting. Now, in fairness, and shouts out to Covington for showing his value, the price might have went up on him this year because he's been the linchpin to what Houston is doing. But as of right now, he's kind of like a starter, nice 6-man kind of hybrid type player. So my first person off the bench, I'm going with Robert Covington.
You have a very good defensive team. You're lanky, you're versatile. I see what you're doing there. You're building a gritty team. I like it. Now, this is interesting. There's so many different ways I can go here, but I'm just gonna be real with you. I have a lot of scoring, but I want one more piece I can get off the bench. But I'm not gonna go to who I wanted to initiate. I just want another point guard who can initiate offense, give some pressure off Bron and KD and Lonzo. I'm gonna go Dennis Schroeder at my number 1.
Yeah, and I think we both was in agreement, like far as giving him love. You picked Lou Williams, but I picked Schroeder for my 6-man a year, and he's thriving that role. I like it. That's a great pick.
Yeah, it just come off the bench. give you that spark, initiate the offense. He's young, he's athletic, can run in transition, play some good defense. So, yeah, Dennis Schroeder. So, right now, we're looking at your team, Anthony Davis, Chris Paul, Bam Bam, Jimmy Butler, Duncan Robinson, and Robert Covington. And for me, we're looking at Lonzo, Clay, Bron, KD, Montrezl Harrell, and Dennis Schroeder. So
I like it. Yeah.
You're on your seventh
pick.
Yep.
So now that we got another wing guy, I want to bring in somebody that's truly a grinder.
Yeah.
And I'm a toot my own horn. At this point, I'm gonna be showing off. Like, I'm about to show off my death. Like, people, Max. Hey, I'm saying people gotta realize that we out here doing this for real. Like, we really love and study the game. And you with the MMA and other sports, like, you really are a sports guy that really digs in. So that's why I thought this was brilliant, because the person I'm about to pick, people are gonna be like, who? And you could throw some other people into this role, but I like Rashad Holmes out there in Sacramento.
Ooh.
Once they inserted Rashad Holmes into their small ball five lineup, they put Buddy Hield as their sixth man. Sacramento was able to find some continuity. And when he hurt his shoulder in that one game and missed a few games, they struggled a little bit because Bagley has been out for injuries. But thanks to Rashad, appreciate it. Rashad said Holmes is a monster. But at this point, we're trying to fill out. See, I didn't even know Bowling Green. See, stop showing off, Yoda. We know you know your mid-major guys. Stop showing off. But we're filling out a realistic bench. And I don't necessarily need him to give me any offense. He can come in and give me some defense. He can score on the pick and roll. So I'm going with Rashad Holmes in that pick.
I love it. Rashad's going to love this one. This guy plays in Brooklyn. He's a defensive player, young guy, could be a defensive player of the year candidate, very lanky, and he protects the rim, very mobile. I'm going Jared Allen.
I like it.
At my center position. Obviously, you know him. Rashad knows him. Like, he's not like a sexy player. He's not somebody that people are buying tickets to go watch because he's not a super big all-star. But Jared Allen's the type of glue guy that you need for a successful team. So to have a mobile big, slide his feet, protect the rim, I'm going Jared Allen at my 5. Add some good and tough.
Yeah, he did take LeBron as his first pick. Yeah, you already know. Shouts out to Chance.
Yeah, that's like
I like Jared Allen. And you know what? I'm looking at my list. I have some Brooklyn Nets on my list. Like, like as crazy as that may sound, because I just love what they're doing out there in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So I need another gutty player. I need another winner.
Here, Zach, go over your roster for people just tuning in.
Yeah, people just tuning in. So with my first pick, I took Anthony Davis, the Swiss Army knife. I took CP3, Chris Paul with my second pick, ultimate point guard, two-way player. With my third pick, I took Jimmy Butler. Fourth pick was Bam Adebayo. And then to close it out, we needed some shooting, so I went with the young gun, Duncan Robinson, down there in Miami. Then we came with Robert Covington, stretched the floor with his shooting, great defensive potential. And then I got another grinder in Rashad Holmes of the Sacramento Kings, so had to go with that. My eighth pick, this is tough. I just blanked because I wrote it down.
No, you're good. Take your time. There's a lot to go over here. You're on the clock. So
I just blanked. We were talking about
that's what
Brooklyn.
I do here. That's a Pat Riley trick.
Yeah. You threw me off because I was gonna go a certain route and I blanked.
Yeah.
Oh, got it. I'm going with Marcus Smart.
That's a good one. He was on my list right over here.
I'm going with Marcus Smart. A realistic contract to fit into this, because again, we're not picking super dream teams. We're trying to pick teams that fit, can play your point guard position, can play your two guard position. You look at the shooting percentages and they'll throw you off, but he makes big shots, makes winning plays, has that dog mentality, competes on every single possession like it's the end of his, like it's the last thing on earth. Great team guy. So I'm going with Marcus Smart. That's a
really good one. He's on my list. Give me a second here. So for people just tuning in, we're doing a championship draft of not even just all-stars, any player in the league. We're building a realistic as possible roster. Zach Off the Glass Podcast, myself, the Max Van Auken Podcast. Right now I have Lonzo Clay, Bron KD, and Montez Hill. My bench right now is Dennis Schroeder, and I have Jared Allen at my 5. So I'm looking now, and I have a lot of scoring. So I want to add more versatility on the wing, more two-way players, more championship DNA, guys that maybe not be the youngest, but they can certainly guard the best players and be different in spurts. So that being said, I still find incredible value in a guy like AD. So I'm still going to pick Iguodala at my 3.
Okay.
With the roster that I have, I don't need him to do too much during the regular season. But that's the type of guy that I want come playoff time, come championship time, somebody that understands and makes the right play, good guy in the locker room and buys into everything. I'm going to go Iguodala at my 3.
Okay. I like it.
All right, so now you go down to a 9th and 10th pick.
So what I'm going to do with my 9th pick, I'm going to kind of still stay sort of realistic. So like, I'm not going to pick, obviously, Bradley Beal. He's not going to be the 9th man on the roster. So I'm going to kind of stick with those bench guys, those guys that I think it makes sense and just rounds out a roster. So we've been going back and forth with our big and small type lineup.
Yeah, 2 more roster spots to fill.
So for me, I'm debating, do I want to go young with a lot of upside, or do I want to go veteran who's still bringing value to their team?
I can't help you.
I know you can't. I know. But this is where I'm going to go young.
Okay.
And with somebody who's kind of playing this role right now, and I was high on him coming into the season.
Okay.
I'm going to go with Daniel Gafford of the Chicago Bulls.
Oh, that's a good one.
I'm going to go with Daniel Gafford. We got our nice rookie, young, bouncy, springy, still kind of raw, learning the NBA game. But again, we're trying to be realistic. This is the type of NBA pick you will have at the back end of your bench, of your rotation. So I'm going to go with Daniel Gafford out of Arkansas, playing with Chicago Bulls right now. Like I said, I was high on him, loved his upside. And like I said, he was finally starting to get some minutes with the Bulls. So I'm going with Daniel Gafford.
Okay, I like it. Now, this is going to fool a couple people. But a lot of people may not agree with me because it's kind of repetitive. Mm-hmm. But I think Schroeder is talented enough to be a good scorer off the bench. So my number 2, I want that young, I want defense, and I want playmaking. Because you have a very versatile and tough and lanky team. So I need to be able to match that. I can't just have veteran shooters with reliability.
Right.
I'm going Dejounte Murray. From San Antonio. I think he's very lanky, extremely athletic, great defensively on the perimeter. He's a good IQ guy. He's a good guy. I'm going Dejounte Murray. Now, him and Dennis Schroeder can go from 1 and 2. It kind of just depends. It could be kind of a combo. So whoever will facilitate that time, maybe Schroeder's more of the scorer and Dejounte Murray's more of the facilitator. Either way, I think they complement each other well. And to go with AD and Jared Allen, I think it's a good defensive team.
I like it.
All right. Let me write Dejounte Murray. All right, so this is the 5th and final pick.
We're going to need some scoring, I think, at this point, because I'm liking another young player. But we need some scoring coming off the bench. We definitely need some scoring. I can almost do eeny, meeny, miny, mo at this point and close my eyes. But
this is tough.
It's super tough. Because, again, I want to stay realistic. So, to be honest with you, I'm looking at rookies versus veterans. These are the kind of guys that are on the back end of your bench.
Yeah, this is tough. Take your time because we're going, like you said, we're trying to be realistic here. We're not picking Paul George off the bench. We're picking guys down the rosters that really fit well.
I think I'm going to go veteran in this spot. And you can actually be moved up. Like, it could be interchangeable depending on how you want to view it. I'm gonna go George Hill with the Milwaukee Bucks.
That's a good one. That's a
good
good
George
guy.
Hill. Nice, solid contract.
Yep.
Just, and I'm always kind of biased to these type of players, in my opinion, because Rashad calls these guys like, minivans, just reliable, nothing flashy. Just put some good 87 gas in there, keep the oil changed, keep it cleaned on the inside, and it's going to start. You know what you're going to get from them.
Yeah.
You're going to get some great defense, great shot making. I mean, they couldn't even play Eric Bledsoe last year in the playoffs. Like, they had to play George Hill those type of minutes. So I think great veteran leadership to close it out. I'm going to go with George Hill for my 10. So should I recap, or should you go with your 10th pick?
Recap, because I'm right now, my roster right now. I know my pick, but recap for people just tuning in.
All right, so if you're just joining us, again, with the number 1 pick, we went with Anthony Davis. Number 2 was Chris Paul. After that, we picked Jimmy Butler. I went with Bam Adebayo. And then to close out my 5, I went with the young shooter down in Miami, Duncan Robinson. We next came with Robert Covington, the 3-and-D guy. Got some toughness at the post position with Rashad Holmes for the Sacramento Kings. Kept that theme going. Got some toughness on defense, and he can also score and create shots. Marcus Smart for the Celtics. Went with the young guy from Daniel Gafford for the Chicago Bulls out of Arkansas. Pogo stick, big guy, huge upside. And then I went with George Hill, the consummate pro, the savvy veteran, somebody that's been getting it done as the 10th guy on our roster. So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. That's the Off the Glass Podcast NBA team.
Man, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you on. I'm about to give my 10th and final pick. This podcast can be available on any podcast platform, the Max Van Auken Podcast. I'm going to try to see if I can upload this to my YouTube channel as well, Max Van Auken. My team right now is looking like Lonzo, Clay, Braun, KD, and Montrezl Harrell is my starting 5. Off the bench, I have Dejounte Murray, Dennis Schroeder, Andrew Iguodala, and Jared Allen. So I wanted to add another spark, like Lou Will. But Lou Will may not fit this the way it is. Lou Will may have to play the 3. He's really a small 3 if I want to move it down to the 4. And that would mean Iggy's a small 4. And honestly, Lou's kind of expensive now, right?
I mean, he's still on. Because he loved the Clippers so much. I mean, he gave them one of the biggest discounts that nobody's talking about. So he has a very friendly contract.
Because I want to say Lou Will, but that's a lot of ball handlers with Dejounte Murray, and I have Dennis Schroeder. So I don't know.
You're not going to trick me again with the Pat Riley stuff. I'm not about to help you make your pick. You already got me. I almost forgot Marcus Smart. You're not about to trick me with the Pat Riley stuff. So who are you picking?
I want to pick Lou Will, but I'm trying to be realistic with fit. And I think a better fit would be Marcus Morris. Because I think Marcus Morris can play the 4, Iggy can play the 3, Dejounte Murray and Schroeder are doing most of the ball handling. And I like Morris because he's a versatile defender. He adds toughness. He can hit the tough mid-range. He can hit the 3. He can switch on your type of guys like a Bam Bam, like a Jimmy. And he's that glue guy that you need. And he adds the grit. I do have some finesse on my team, so I needed more grit. So I think I'm going to go with Marcus Morris to fit that 4th position on the bench. So he's my 10th pick.
I love it. And I looked it up just too. So Lou Williams signed a 3-year, $24 million deal.
Yeah, that's expensive.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy. So he's at $8 million this year and $8 million the next year. Like, I mean, that's just, you talking about a huge discount. But Marcus Morris, great pick. Good toughness, veteran. The contract makes sense. Again, those of us that kind of passing by, tuning in, checking it out, we weren't building an all-star team. So please go back. Max, I enjoyed this, man. Like, this was a really dope concept that you came up with. I think next time, though, and we'll save this off camera, we're going to tweak it and do it again because we want to make this as realistic as possible. We're not playing video games. We're not kids. We want to really be able to show off our skills and also our love for the game. It's easy to me to just talk about the superstars. And I even showed that yesterday in my duels show. I could have just said KD and Steph is the greatest duo over Shaq and Kobe, but that would have been unfair to Bob Cousy and Bill Russell.
Yeah.
Karl Malone, John Stockton, Joe Dumars, Isaiah Thomas,
Right.
Kevin McHale, Larry Bird, Moses Malone, Dr. J. So you're kind of like me. I always want to bring balance and perspective.
Yeah.
Because I know we're in the era of recency bias, but we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the greats and those who laid that foundation. Jerry West and Elgin Baylor is another one. Like, if it wasn't for these guys laying that foundation, we wouldn't be where we are with the game right now. So we got to let them smell their flowers as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm paying honor to Pat Riley right now. I had to stick the hair back. You got to respect the greats before you. So as a general manager, it was only right. Now, I couldn't get the expensive suit like he did, but I stick to the polo. I always have the horse on the heart. This one. But
There you go. There you go.
This is we're gonna put the rosters out on Twitter and Instagram, and we'll blast it. But man, this was too much fun, like you just said. I think both you can make a case for both teams. So I'm a fan of this. We're gonna have to do this again.
Well, before we get out of here, I'm gonna give them the horn, switching gears. And we're going to close out with a bit of music. Max, thanks for having me on. If you don't mind, I'm just going to plug my stuff real quick again.
Go right ahead.
Instagram is Zach the Off the Glass Podcast. Follow me over there. The YouTube page, if you want to see the good video content, I'm going back, adding the pictures, adding graphics. Check that out. It's The Off the Glass Podcast. The website is theofftheglasspodcast.com. My Patreon again, The Off the Glass Podcast. And the audio podcast can be found on all streaming platforms. I'm the host. My name is Zach, and my motto is fan of no team, but a lover of basketball. Thanks for having me, Max.
You're the truth, bro. I appreciate it. Like I said, we're going to have to do this again. Boom.